Maya moved carefully along the crowded street. Her white cane tapped lightly against the uneven pavement, announcing her presence to anyone near. She was small and light on her feet, but people who knew her also knew she walked with a quiet confidence. The scarf around her neck was bright red, and it fluttered slightly in the wind as she stepped forward. The market was busy. Vendors shouted to sell their fruit and vegetables. The smell of cooked food mixed with the scent of spices and fresh bread. People hurried past each other, some smiling, some frowning, but none truly noticed her at first. Maya had learned to move through crowds in a special way. Even though she could not see, she could feel the flow of people like water around her. She counted steps and listened to echoes of voices and shoes on the pavement. She noticed when someone slowed down near her or moved too close. Today, the street was louder than usual. The sun was high, and the shadows of tall buildings stretched over the stalls. Maya walked calmly, confident in her knowledge of the path home. A group of older boys stood near a fruit stall. They laughed loudly, shoving each other and knocking small apples off the table. Their voices were rough and playful, but there was something sharper underneath. Maya felt it immediately. She did not need to see them to know they were looking at her. She had felt this before, the feeling of attention that was not friendly. The boys noticed her too. They saw the white cane and the bright scarf and thought it meant she was weak. One of the boys called out, "Hey, blind girl, lost your way?" His voice carried across the street. Maya stopped for a second, listening. She did not answer. Her fingers tightened lightly on the cane. She felt the rhythm of the street. The cane vibrated slightly as it tapped the stones. She could sense the motion of people, the distance of the boys from her. Another boy stepped forward, trying to block her path. "Can't see a thing, huh?" he teased. Maya's head stayed level. She did not flinch. She did not speak. Her calmness was a shield. Some people in the crowd noticed the boys. Some whispered warnings, but most kept walking, afraid to get involved. Maya took a slow, steady step forward. Her cane tapped carefully ahead, then to the side. She counted the steps in her mind. The boys laughed and pushed each other again. One of them grabbed at her scarf. Maya felt the touch immediately and pulled back just enough to keep her balance. The boy laughed even louder. "Oh, come on. Can't even fight back?" Maya breathed slowly, her senses alive. She heard the vendor shout at the boys to stop. She heard the low hum of a small drone above the street, scanning for trouble. It hovered nearby, recording for the city patrol. The boys ignored the vendor. They thought it was just a girl and that she could not harm them. But Maya was not like other girls. She had learned many things that most people did not know. She was born blind, but she had never let that stop her. Her parents taught her to listen carefully, to feel the world with her hands, her feet, and her mind. They had shown her how to understand people from the smallest sounds. Maya could read voices, footsteps, and the movement of air like a map. When she turned 16, her family introduced her to a kind engineer named Noor. Noor was clever and gentle. He made small machines from parts no one else could use. He gave Maya a special gift. Her cane, which looked ordinary, held a hidden tool inside. It could sense motion and shape, helping her understand the space around her. It could also create a small pulse to stop danger. But the pulse was powerful, and she only used it when someone was truly in danger. The boys laughed again. One of them tried to grab her cane. Maya felt the sudden pressure and stepped back, listening to every sound. She did not panic. The pulse in her cane waited silently. Her hand rested on the handle. The street seemed to grow louder as her attention sharpened. She could hear the distance between the boys, the way the stones beneath their shoes moved, even the soft whir of the drone above. She remembered Noor's words. "The cane is not a weapon unless it must be. Trust your mind. Trust your steps. Only act when there is no other choice." Maya had always followed this advice. Today, the boys were testing her patience, but she knew she could stop them without hurting anyone permanently. The first boy reached forward again, trying to push her. Maya felt the shift in his weight and the air around him. She moved her cane slightly, tapping the ground at a new angle. The cane's sensor mapped the space, showing her where each boy stood. It was almost like seeing, but through sound and vibration. Maya's mind moved quickly, planning her next step. A small crowd had started to gather. Some whispered, some pointed, some recorded on their phones. Maya felt their eyes on her, but she did not let it distract her. She counted the steps, measured the angles, and waited. The boys leaned in closer, thinking she would cower. They were wrong. Suddenly, one boy lunged to grab her scarf again. Maya shifted her hand to the cane and pressed a small button hidden beneath her palm. A soft pulse shot outward, touching the boys' brains lightly enough to confuse and unbalance them. They stumbled back, tripping over the pavement. The crowd gasped. Some people cheered softly. The boys' laughter vanished. They looked around, dazed and unsure what had happened. Maya did not move quickly. She stayed calm, steady like a tree in the wind. The pulse lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough. The boys leaned against each other, dizzy and disoriented. Maya stepped forward, moving past them, her cane tapping lightly. She felt the relief in the air. The street returned to its normal rhythm. The vendor smiled and shook his head. The drone hovered silently, recording the event. Maya kept walking, her mind focused on every step. She did not smile. She did not celebrate. She only felt the quiet satisfaction of safety. She knew the boys would recover. The pulse did not harm them permanently. It only stopped them from causing pain. That was enough for Maya. As she moved toward the quieter part of the street, Maya thought about the city. It was full of people who could be cruel and careless, but it was also full of people who were kind and brave. She had learned to read both. She had learned to move through the chaos without fear. Her family, Noor, and her own determination had taught her that strength was not always about fighting. Sometimes it was about listening, planning, and acting at the right moment. The street narrowed as Maya walked. She could hear the distant hum of trams, the soft barking of a dog, and the voices of children playing. She counted her steps carefully, her cane tapping rhythmically. Every sound told her where she was. She knew the turns, the corners, the hidden stones and cracks. The city was alive, and she moved through it like a river through rocks. The boys eventually left, rubbing their heads and muttering complaints. They would tell their friends about the girl who was blind but fought back in a strange, unstoppable way. Some would respect her. Some would fear her. Maya did not care. She only cared about moving forward, being safe, and learning from every step. By the time she reached the small bridge near her home, Maya felt the tension of the street fade. The market sounds became softer. The hum of the city was steady and familiar. She paused for a moment, resting her hand on the railing. The wind touched her face. She smiled slightly, not because of the boys, but because she had moved safely through danger. Maya knew tomorrow would bring more challenges. Streets were never completely safe. But she also knew something else. She had a mind that could see without eyes, a body that could move without fear, and a tool that could protect her. That was enough. She stepped off the bridge and continued toward her home. Every tap of her cane, every careful step was a small victory. The city might be rough, but humans like Maya could survive and thrive. The sun began to set, painting the buildings with soft orange light. Maya walked steadily, feeling the warmth and listening to the life around her. The world was not perfect, but she was ready for it. Each step, each sound, each breath was a reminder that being human was powerful. Being alive, aware, and brave was enough to face anything. Maya returned home with steady steps, her cane tapping lightly on the familiar path. The sun was low in the sky, and the city's noises softened into evening sounds. She breathed in the cool air and listened to the distant hum of engines, the murmur of voices, and the soft clatter of dishes from nearby homes. Her heart was calm, but her mind was alive with the memory of the street and the boys who had tried to bully her. Her small apartment was warm and tidy. The walls held pictures of her family and her friends. A small plant near the window swayed slightly as the wind passed through the open curtains. Maya set down her bag and leaned her cane gently against the wall. She ran her fingers along its smooth surface, thinking of Noor and the gift he had given her. The cane had looked ordinary at first, a simple white stick with a comfortable handle. But inside it held a tool that was rare and powerful. Noor had explained how it worked in quiet, careful words. "Maya," he had said, "the cane will show you the world in a way your ears can understand. It will let you sense shapes, distances, and motion, even without sight. It can also protect you, but only when you need it most. It is a gift, but it carries responsibility." Maya had practiced with the cane for months. She had learned to hear the vibrations of the street, the rhythm of footsteps, the small echoes that told her where obstacles stood. She had learned to map the world in her mind like a puzzle made of sounds, and she had learned to control the pulse that could stop danger without causing real harm. It was a difficult skill, requiring focus and courage. She had never used it lightly, and she never would. That afternoon on the street, she had acted only when she had no other choice. The boys had come too close, and their hands had reached for her. The pulse had stopped them for a few seconds, enough to protect herself and others. Maya did not feel proud. She only felt relief that no one was hurt and that she had remained in control. Her mother, Amina, called from the kitchen. "Maya, are you home?" "Dinner is ready." Maya smiled softly and answered, "Yes, I'm coming." She moved toward the kitchen, feeling the familiar layout with ease. She could tell the table was set, the plates and utensils arranged neatly. The smell of food made her stomach growl lightly. Her mother noticed her thoughtful expression. "Are you thinking about the street again?" she asked. Maya nodded slightly. "Yes, there were some boys who tried to bother me. I handled it." Amina reached out and held Maya's hand. "You are brave, my child. But remember, not everyone will understand your courage. Some may fear it or question it." Maya nodded. She understood. People often feared what they could not see or understand. That was why Noor had been careful when he gave her the cane. "I know, Mother," she said softly. "I only act when I have to. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to be safe." After dinner, Maya sat at her small desk, taking out her notebook. She liked to write notes about the city, about her steps, and about what she learned from the people around her. Writing helped her organize her thoughts. She wrote about the street, the market, the drone, and the boys who had tried to bully her. She also wrote about how the cane had helped her sense them and protect herself. Noor had visited earlier in the week. He had checked the cane, making sure all the circuits and sensors were working perfectly. "Maya," he said, "your skill is growing. You hear more than most people can see. You feel more than most people can touch. That is power. But it is also a choice. Always remember that." Maya had listened carefully and nodded. She knew he was right. Power without control could be dangerous. That evening, after writing, Maya practiced with the cane in her small living room. She tapped it slowly, listening to the echoes. She moved her hands and feet, shifting her body to map the space around her. The room felt alive with sound. Each vibration told her where objects were, where the walls ended, and how far the table stood. She practiced the pulse carefully, letting it hum softly into the air, testing its reach without activating it fully. It was a reminder that she had control, and that control was her strength. As the night deepened, Maya's mind wandered to the future. The city was large and full of surprises. Some were good, some were dangerous. She wondered if she would meet others who had tools like hers, or if she would have to face challenges alone. The thought made her both anxious and determined. She knew she would never run from danger, but she would also never seek it. The cane was her guide, but her courage and mind were her true power. The next morning, Maya left the apartment early. She liked to walk through quieter streets before the city fully woke. The air was fresh and the sounds were softer. Birds chirped, and the distant hum of the early trams filled the air. She tapped her cane lightly, mapping every corner and step. Today she felt alert, ready for anything. As she approached the first busy street, Maya noticed a small boy trip over a stone. He dropped a basket of bread and the loaves scattered. She moved quickly, tapping the ground and feeling the distance. She reached him just in time to guide his hands to gather the bread. "Thank you, miss," he said cheerfully. Maya smiled softly. "Be careful," she said. "The street can be tricky if you don't watch your step." Helping someone felt good. It reminded her that her strength was not only in defense but also in kindness. A man nearby watched the scene. He was tall and serious, wearing a uniform that marked him as part of the city patrol. He nodded to Maya silently, impressed by her skill. Maya noticed him through the vibration of his movement. She acknowledged him with a slight nod and continued walking. The city was full of people who could see and judge, but it was also full of people who quietly respected others. Maya had learned to read both kinds. Later, she reached the market again. It was noisier than the morning, full of voices, smells, and motion. She moved carefully, feeling the spaces between people, listening to every step and sound. The boys from yesterday were not there, but Maya remained alert. She did not fear them, but she respected their potential to act foolishly. Her cane tapped the ground rhythmically, mapping the crowd and sensing shapes around her. A familiar voice called out, "Maya!" It was Noor, carrying a small backpack filled with parts. He walked quickly to her, his hands busy with tools even as he spoke. "I thought I might find you here," he said. "I have something new for you to test." Maya smiled and reached for his hand. Noor explained a small modification he had made to the cane, a tiny sensor that would allow her to sense motion even more clearly. "It is subtle," he said. "You won't notice it at first, but it will help you avoid danger before it reaches you." Maya listened carefully as he described it. She felt the new device, small and smooth, hidden within the cane. She tapped the ground, sensing the vibration of the street. Already she felt the change. It was like hearing a whisper in the wind. She could detect people moving faster, slower, even those who tried to hide in the crowd. Her mind adjusted quickly, mapping the city in her mind with more detail than ever before. Noor smiled. "You are learning faster than I expected. You will be ready for more than the street. You will be ready for life." Maya nodded. She understood the meaning. Life was full of dangers and surprises, but also full of opportunities. Her skill, her courage, and the cane gave her the chance to face it all. The rest of the day passed quietly. Maya walked through familiar streets, feeling the rhythm of the city. She helped an elderly woman find her way, guided a lost child to a parent, and avoided small accidents with grace. Each step reminded her of her power and responsibility. She did not boast. She did not show off. She only moved through the world with awareness and care. When evening came, Maya returned home again. She sat by the window, listening to the sounds of the city and the soft whisper of wind through the trees. She thought about yesterday's incident, about the boys in the crowd, and about the pulse in her cane. She realized something important. Her strength did not come only from the cane. It came from her mind, her focus, and her courage. The cane was a tool, but she was the one in control. Maya smiled softly to herself. Life would continue to challenge her. The city was full of tests and dangers, but also full of kindness and possibility. She was ready. She had learned to face the street, face the crowd, and face danger without fear. And most importantly, she had learned to trust herself. As night fell, Maya lay in bed thinking of the future. She imagined new streets, new challenges, and new people. She imagined herself moving through it all with skill and confidence. The hidden gift of the cane was powerful, but her true power was in her mind and heart. Tomorrow would come and she would meet it ready. Maya closed her eyes and smiled. She was blind, but she could see more than most people ever would. She was safe, strong, and ready, and with that she drifted into a deep, calm sleep, dreaming of a city full of possibility and courage. The morning air was fresh and cool when Maya stepped out of her apartment. The streets were quieter than usual, and the sun had just begun to rise over the buildings. Her white cane tapped lightly against the pavement as she moved forward, listening to every sound and feeling every vibration under her feet. Today she felt alert and ready. Her mind was sharp, and the cane hummed softly, sensing the shapes and movements of the people around her. As she approached the market, she noticed the familiar rhythm of life in motion. Vendors arranged their fruits, calling out prices. Children ran around laughing. The low hum of a small patrol drone hovered above the street, scanning for unusual activity. Maya could hear every detail, and she could sense the flow of the crowd like a river moving around rocks. She moved with confidence, careful yet unhurried. Suddenly, Maya felt a shift in the air. Someone moved closer, their steps heavy and uneven. She recognized the pattern instantly. It was the same group of boys from yesterday. They had returned, perhaps hoping for another chance to mock her. Their voices carried easily across the street. "Look, it's the blind girl again. Let's see what she can do now," one said. Maya's pulse quickened slightly, but her calmness remained. She had faced them before, and she could face them again. The boys laughed and jostled each other as they approached. One of them stepped directly in her path, trying to block her way. "Think you can get past us today?" he asked with a sneer. Maya felt the cane in her hand, the familiar weight and hidden power within. She could sense the exact distance between herself and each boy, the angle of their movements and the pressure they applied as they leaned forward. The crowd nearby had begun to notice the tension. Some people whispered quietly, while others watched with curiosity. A vendor shook his head, muttering, "Not again." Maya did not need to see their expressions. She could feel the energy in the air. She focused her mind on the sounds around her, the shuffling of shoes, the muttered laughter, the distant hum of the drone above. Every detail was a signal, every vibration a clue. The first boy reached for her scarf. Maya felt the motion instantly. She took a small, deliberate step back, letting her mind map the space around her. The cane's hidden sensor pulsed slightly, preparing her for action without revealing its power to anyone else. She did not panic. Her mind remained calm, calculating every movement. Another boy stepped closer, swinging his arm in a playful but threatening gesture. Maya could hear the swish of air, the slight shift in weight as he moved. She adjusted her stance and tapped the cane rhythmically on the ground. The pulses from the cane created a map of the space in her mind. She could see the boys as shapes and positions, their motions frozen in a mental snapshot. Then, as the first boy lunged to grab her scarf again, Maya acted. She pressed the hidden button on the cane with the heel of her palm. A small, controlled pulse shot outward. The boys stumbled, their balance disrupted for a few seconds. Their laughter stopped instantly, replaced by confusion and alarm. Some fell to the ground, clutching their heads. The crowd gasped. Phones hovered, recording the unexpected scene. Maya did not move quickly. She stood still, letting the pulse work. The boys were unprepared for her sudden precision and control. They tried to regain their footing, but the pulse had left them dizzy and disoriented. Maya's mind processed the space, calculating the safest path forward. Step by step, she moved past them, her cane tapping lightly, her balance steady. The crowd was silent now. Some whispered in admiration, others in fear. No one dared approach too closely. A woman from a nearby stall stepped forward to help Maya keep her balance. "Are you all right?" she asked softly. Maya nodded. "Yes, thank you," she replied. She did not smile, but there was a quiet relief in her tone. She had protected herself without causing lasting harm. The boys finally recovered, sitting on the pavement, rubbing their heads and looking around in confusion. Their bravado had vanished. The pulse had been brief, non-lethal, but powerful enough to show them that Maya was not helpless. They had underestimated her. The crowd began to disperse slowly, some people muttering about the girl who had turned the tables in an instant. Maya continued walking, her mind alert to every sound and vibration. The vendor called out softly, praising her skill without drawing attention. A small patrol drone hovered closer, its sensors recording the event. Maya knew that some people would view her action as dangerous, while others would see it as heroic. She did not worry about labels. She only focused on moving safely through the city. When she reached a quiet side street, Maya paused to rest. Her heart was steady and her mind was calm. The pulse in her cane had been used carefully, and she had remained in control. She felt the satisfaction of having protected herself and others without causing real harm. Her mind reflected on the lesson she had learned. Courage and precision could outmatch brute force when used wisely. Later, when she reached home, Maya's mother was waiting with a gentle smile. "Did you encounter any trouble today?" she asked. Maya nodded slightly, recounting the incident calmly. Her mother listened with concern and pride. "You are brave, Maya," she said softly. "But remember, some people will fear your strength. Be careful with it and always choose when to act." Maya nodded. She understood completely. Strength without control could lead to danger, but controlled strength could protect herself and others. That evening, Maya reflected on the event. She thought about the boys, the crowd, and the quiet moments of control she had maintained. She realized that her power was not only in the cane, but in her mind and focus. The cane was a tool, but she was the one who controlled it. Her skill came from practice, patience, and the careful listening she had learned over many years. The next day, word of the incident began to spread. People in the market whispered about the blind girl who had stood her ground. Some called her a hero. Others warned about the power of such tools. Maya paid no attention to the gossip. She continued her daily routines, walking through streets, practicing with her cane, and observing the city. She understood that recognition was not important. What mattered was awareness, preparation, and the ability to act wisely. During her practice sessions, Maya focused on refining her skill. She tapped the cane on different surfaces, adjusting the sensitivity of the sensors. She tested her ability to detect motion from different directions and distances. Every day, she grew more confident in her perception of the world. The pulse remained a last resort tool, but the mapping ability of the cane allowed her to navigate with remarkable precision. Noor visited again in the afternoon, carrying small components and adjustments for the cane. "You are learning faster than I expected," he said. "The pulse is only one part of your skill. The real power comes from your mind. Remember that. The cane guides, but you decide." Maya listened carefully. She understood that the cane was a gift, but her awareness and courage were her true strengths. Together they tested small exercises. Noor moved quietly behind Maya, simulating obstacles and threats. Maya used her cane to detect the positions and motions without any visual cues. Step by step, she refined her understanding, learning to anticipate movement before it happened. She realized that the city was full of patterns and rhythms. The pulse was a tool for emergencies, but awareness and careful listening were her main defense. Evening came, and Maya returned home, her mind alive with new knowledge. She thought about the street, the market, the boys, and the crowd. She understood that humans could be cruel and careless, but they could also be kind and helpful. Strength was not only about stopping harm, it was about understanding the world and moving through it wisely. As she prepared for sleep, Maya reflected on her hidden gift. The cane had given her abilities that many people would never imagine. She had seen the world through sound, vibration, and motion. She had stopped danger without causing lasting harm. She had faced the street with courage and intelligence. And most importantly, she had learned to trust herself. Maya lay in bed listening to the city at night. The hum of engines, the distant voices, and the soft wind through the trees filled her senses. She smiled softly. Life was not perfect, but she had the tools, the skill, and the courage to face it. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and she would be ready. The city was full of surprises, but she had already proven that awareness, skill, and courage could turn the unexpected into opportunity. Maya closed her eyes and drifted into sleep, calm and confident. She had faced danger, protected herself, and learned more about her strength. Her mind and heart were ready for what lay ahead. The pulse in her cane rested silently, waiting for the next moment when it might be needed. But she knew that her true power was not in the pulse. It was in her courage, her awareness, and her ability to act wisely when others did not expect it. The day after the street incident began quietly. Maya woke to the soft light of morning filtering through her curtains. She sat on the edge of her bed, her white cane leaning nearby, and listened to the sounds of the city coming alive. The distant hum of trams, the voices of early risers, and the chirping of birds created a familiar rhythm. Today she felt a sense of anticipation. Something in the air was different, though she could not yet name it. As she left her apartment, Maya noticed that the street seemed more crowded than usual. Vendors were setting up their stalls quickly, and people moved with purpose. Even the small patrol drone hovered lower than normal, its sensors scanning the streets with unusual attention. Maya's mind stayed alert. She tapped her cane carefully, sensing every movement around her, mapping the flow of people like a river. She was ready for anything, though she hoped today would be calm. Soon she felt it, a change in the energy of the street. The boys from the previous day were not present, but a few men in uniform approached the market. They were part of the city patrol, and their movement suggested authority and caution. Maya could sense the tension in their steps, the way they scanned the street and the rhythm of their voices. They were looking for something or someone. A tall officer unfamiliar to Maya approached her with measured steps. "Excuse me, young lady," he said. "We are investigating a recent disturbance in this area. Did you witness anything unusual yesterday?" Maya tilted her head slightly, sensing his tone. It was serious but not hostile. "Yes," she replied. "I was there." She did not elaborate immediately. Her mind measured the distance and movement of the officer carefully, aware of the space between them. The officer nodded slowly. "We understand someone used a device to stop some trouble. Did you see who it was or what kind of device was involved?" Maya thought carefully. She knew that revealing too much could bring trouble to her and Noor. At the same time, she wanted to be honest. "I helped stop the situation," she said simply. "I used a tool to protect myself. The people involved were unhurt." The officer listened quietly, his gaze steady. While Maya spoke, her mind traced the events of the previous day. The pulse from her cane had been carefully controlled, non-lethal and precise. She had acted to defend herself and the people around her. She had remained calm while the crowd watched. It was a moment of both fear and courage, a lesson in control. The officer seemed to sense this. He nodded again. "I see. Thank you for your honesty. We may have further questions, but I appreciate your cooperation." After the officer left, Maya continued through the market. Her senses were alert to the subtle vibrations of the street. The crowd was quieter than usual, some people glancing at her with curiosity. She sensed a mix of admiration and concern. News of her actions was spreading. Some people called her brave. Others whispered that she had used a dangerous tool. Maya did not respond. She had learned long ago that public opinion was less important than understanding and preparation. Later, Maya returned home. Noor was waiting for her, carrying a small toolkit. "I heard what happened yesterday," he said quietly. "You did very well. The pulse was used correctly and no one was hurt. But we need to be careful. People are asking questions and some authorities may want to know more." Maya nodded. She understood the meaning. Her skills were impressive, but they could also attract attention, and attention could be dangerous if handled poorly. Together, they worked on the cane. Noor adjusted the sensors slightly, improving the detection of motion in crowded areas. Maya tapped the cane on the floor, testing the changes. The cane hummed softly, mapping the space around her. She could detect even the smallest shifts in weight, the quietest footsteps, and subtle changes in air pressure. Every sound became a guide, every vibration a clue. The cane was more than a tool. It was an extension of her senses and awareness. In the afternoon, Maya walked through a quieter part of the city. She liked this area because it gave her a chance to focus on her skills without distraction. As she moved, she encountered a young officer named Tariq. He was part of the patrol team and had arrived at the market yesterday after the incident. He walked carefully, keeping a respectful distance. "I wanted to speak with you," he said. "I observed the situation. You acted with courage and precision. That is rare." Maya felt the sincerity in his voice and nodded. "Thank you," she said. "I only wanted to stop harm." Tariq listened carefully as Maya explained her perspective. She did not speak of the cane's hidden pulse, only of how she sensed the world and anticipated danger. Tariq was thoughtful. He began to question some of the city's rules and regulations. Was it fair to punish someone who defended themselves so carefully? Could humans adapt in ways that laws had not yet considered? Maya answered simply, "Humans are resourceful. We find ways to survive and help others. That is our strength." Tariq nodded, impressed by her clarity and honesty. As the day progressed, Maya walked through the market again. She noticed a few of the boys who had bullied her yesterday lingering nearby. They looked nervous and avoided direct confrontation. Maya did not approach them. She understood that they needed to learn from the experience in their own way. Strength was not always about punishing others. Sometimes it was about standing firm and letting lessons be learned naturally. By evening, the city seemed to settle. Maya returned home, her mind filled with thoughts about courage, responsibility, and human potential. She reflected on the events of the past 2 days. The pulse in her cane had been used carefully. Her awareness had kept her safe, and she had learned more about the city and the people within it. She realized that her true strength lay not in the tools she carried, but in her focus, patience, and intelligence. That night, Maya spoke with her mother, Amina. They discussed the incident, the city patrol, and the lessons Maya had learned. "You are growing in wisdom as well as skill," Amina said softly. "Strength is not only about what you can do, it is about knowing when to act and how to act. You understand that, and that makes you different." Maya smiled softly, feeling the warmth of her mother's words. She had learned that courage without wisdom could be dangerous. Wisdom without courage was incomplete. Maya also thought about Noor and his guidance. He had taught her to trust her instincts, to practice with care, and to respect the power she held. The cane was more than a gift, it was a responsibility. She knew that others might fear her ability, but she would use it wisely. She understood that strength without control was dangerous, but controlled strength could protect life and inspire respect. In the following days, Maya continued to walk through the city. She noticed small changes. Some people greeted her with respect, remembering her courage. Others avoided her, unsure of how to react. The boys who had mocked her yesterday began to keep their distance. Maya sensed that they were learning to be more careful, to respect others' space. She did not seek revenge or acknowledgement. She simply moved through the world with awareness and confidence. One afternoon, Maya met Tariq again. He had come to check on her after the patrol's inquiries. They walked together for a while, discussing the city, its rules, and the potential for humans to adapt to challenges. Tariq asked thoughtful questions about how humans could use intelligence, observation, and careful tools to protect themselves. Maya explained simply, "We listen, we feel, and we act. That is enough to survive and to help others. Humans are stronger than they realize." Tariq nodded, impressed by her insight and calm courage. The city around them seemed alive with possibility. Vendors arranged their stalls, children played, and the hum of engines created a constant rhythm. Maya moved carefully through it all, her cane tapping lightly. Every step was precise, every motion intentional. She understood that her actions affected the world, even in small ways. The pulse in her cane remained a tool for emergencies, but her true strength came from her mind, awareness, and courage. By evening, Maya returned home, tired but satisfied. She reflected on the changes around her, the reactions of the crowd, the curiosity of the patrol, and the lessons the boys were learning. Humans could be cruel and careless, but they could also learn, adapt, and show kindness. Strength was not only about force. It was about understanding, courage, and the ability to act wisely in the moment. As night fell, Maya prepared for sleep. The city outside was quiet, alive with subtle sounds. She listened carefully, sensing the patterns and rhythms that others overlooked. She reflected on her journey so far, the street incident, the boys, the crowd, the patrol, and her own growth. Each experience had taught her something new about herself and the human spirit. Maya lay in bed, her white cane resting nearby. She closed her eyes and thought of the days to come. The city was full of challenges, but also full of potential. Humans could adapt, survive, and inspire one another. She had learned that courage, awareness, and intelligence were far more powerful than brute strength. The pulse in her cane was ready if needed, but she knew her true power lay in her mind and heart. With that thought, Maya drifted into a calm sleep. She was blind, yet she could sense more than most people ever would. She was aware, brave, and ready for the days ahead. The city was alive, but she was prepared. Every sound, every vibration, every step was a reminder of her strength and responsibility. The city woke to a calm morning, but the memory of the street incident had not faded. People whispered in markets and cafes about the girl who had faced the boys with courage and skill. Some admired her bravery, while others questioned the use of her tool. Maya moved through the streets, tapping her cane carefully, aware of the crowd and the reactions around her. She walked steadily, alert but calm, as if every sound and vibration guided her path. Maya knew her actions had consequences beyond her control. The patrol drone hovered nearby, scanning the streets with quiet diligence. Officers were talking with vendors and residents, gathering accounts of what had happened. Maya felt no fear. She had acted to protect herself and others. The pulse in her cane had been used wisely, causing no harm but ensuring safety. That choice had ripple effects, teaching some people respect and caution while inspiring others to consider human potential. As she passed the market, a small crowd of children noticed her. They stared in wonder at the blind girl who moved with confidence and grace. Maya smiled softly to herself. She remembered being a child, learning to navigate streets and sounds, learning courage in small steps. She knelt briefly, offering a gentle greeting. "Be careful on the street," she said. The children nodded eagerly, impressed by her calm confidence. Nearby, the boys who had mocked her were talking quietly among themselves. They had avoided her for days, nervous about her unexpected power. Maya felt the tension in the air but did not approach them. She understood that learning sometimes came slowly, and the lesson they needed was already present. The pulse had taught them respect without causing fear or injury. Humans could learn from example, and her example was quiet but firm. At home, Maya sat with her mother and Noor. They discussed the recent events and the reactions of the city. Noor was thoughtful. "People are starting to understand that humans are capable of more than they imagine," he said. "Your actions showed skill, courage, and care. That is something rare and valuable." Maya nodded. She knew the truth of his words. Strength came from awareness, intelligence, and courage, not only from force. A soft knock came at the door. It was Tariq, the young patrol officer. He entered quietly, greeting Maya and her mother politely. "I wanted to check on you," he said. "The council is holding discussions about your situation. People are talking about your actions and the tool you used. They are realizing that humans can adapt and protect themselves in ways the law did not expect." Maya listened carefully. She did not fear the council. She knew she had acted responsibly and wisely. Tariq continued. "They want to create safe rules for people who have tools like yours. They are learning that humans can use intelligence, observation, and skill to defend themselves without causing harm. You are showing them the way." Maya felt a quiet pride, not in herself but in what her actions represented. The city was changing slowly but surely toward fairness and understanding. In the days that followed, Maya's story spread further. Vendors spoke of her courage, children repeated the lesson of her calmness, and the city patrol reviewed the event with care. The boys who had mocked her gradually changed their behavior. They cleaned up the market, listened to others, and learned to respect the space and safety of those around them. Maya did not interfere. She understood that influence could be quiet and indirect, yet powerful. The city council called a meeting to discuss the use of assistive tools. Maya attended with her mother and Noor. She spoke clearly and calmly about her experiences, focusing on awareness, courage, and responsibility. She explained how humans could use intelligence and careful planning to protect themselves and others. She asked for rules that encourage safety, while allowing people to grow and adapt. Her voice carried confidence and honesty. Council members listened with attention. Some asked technical questions, while others considered the human aspect of her story. Maya answered thoughtfully, showing that humans could be resourceful, kind, and brave at the same time. Her example inspired discussion about fairness, adaptation, and the potential of human skill. The council realized that human ingenuity could make the city safer, while respecting freedom and independence. Outside the council chambers, Maya felt the presence of the city in a new way. The streets were alive, filled with people moving, talking, and living their lives. She could sense the flow of energy, the rhythm of human activity, and the subtle changes brought by her actions. Humans could learn from one another, adapt, and show courage. Her pulse had been one small action, but its influence spread further than she could see. At home that evening, Maya reflected on the changes. The city was not perfect, but it had grown more aware, more respectful, and more open to human potential. She realized that courage was not only in moments of danger, but also in the quiet actions that shaped the world over time. Her strength was measured not by the pulse in her cane, but by the wisdom and awareness she carried in her mind and heart. Noor joined her at the window, smiling. "You have started something important," he said. "Humans can adapt, learn, and change the world around them. Your courage and intelligence are showing that every day." Maya nodded, feeling a quiet satisfaction. The city was alive, and humans were capable of shaping it with care and courage. Maya's mother, Amina, joined them. She placed a gentle hand on Maya's shoulder. "Your actions are teaching more than you realize," she said softly. "Humans are learning that strength comes from courage, intelligence, and respect for others. You are part of that change." Maya felt warmth and pride, not in herself alone, but in the potential of all humans to grow, adapt, and protect one another. The next morning, Maya walked through the city with her cane tapping lightly. The streets felt calmer, the people more aware, and the energy more balanced. She passed the boys who had once mocked her. They nodded briefly, their behavior transformed by the lesson of respect. Maya continued without hesitation, knowing that change could be quiet and gradual but lasting. Children in the market waved at her, vendors smiled, and the patrol drones moved smoothly overhead. Maya listened to the rhythm of life around her, aware of every sound and motion. Humans had the ability to adapt, to learn from experience, and to act with courage. Her actions, though small, had contributed to that understanding. In the afternoon, Tariq met her again. "The council has approved new rules for safe use of assistive tools," he said. "They recognize that humans can be clever, careful, and brave. Your example helped them see that." Maya felt a sense of calm. She had acted wisely and responsibly, and the city had responded with fairness. Humans were learning to respect one another and to value intelligence and courage. Evening came, and Maya returned home, reflecting on the journey. She thought of the streets, the market, the crowd, and the boys. She remembered the pulse in her cane and the careful steps she had taken. She understood that her true strength was her awareness, her courage, and her intelligence. The tool was a gift, but it was her heart and mind that made her powerful. As night fell, Maya lay in bed listening to the city outside. The hum of life, the distant voices, and the soft whisper of the wind created a comforting rhythm. She smiled softly, knowing that humans were capable of change, adaptation, and courage. Her actions had sparked small changes, and those changes would grow. Humans could protect themselves, help others, and shape the world in positive ways. Maya's pulse rested quietly in her cane, ready if ever needed. But she knew that her true power came from within. Awareness, courage, and intelligence were stronger than any tool. The city had learned, the people had learned, and even the boys had learned. Small acts of bravery and wisdom could create a lasting impact. The city outside remained alive, full of potential. Maya felt a deep calm, knowing that her actions had contributed to a small revolution, one of respect, courage, and human intelligence. She closed her eyes, letting the sounds of the city guide her into sleep. She was blind, yet she could sense the world more clearly than most. She had faced danger, protected life, and inspired understanding. Tomorrow would bring new streets, new people, and new challenges. Maya was ready. Her heart and mind were steady, her skills sharp, and her courage unshakable. Humans could adapt, survive, and grow stronger when guided by intelligence and compassion. She had proven that with patience, awareness, and careful action, even one person could make a difference. Maya drifted into sleep with a quiet smile. The city rested around her, alive and vibrant. She had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, and emerged stronger. Humans could be brave, resourceful, and kind. Her story was a reminder that courage, intelligence, and careful action could shape the world for the better. The night was calm, but the city had changed. One small act of awareness and bravery had begun a ripple that would continue to grow. And Maya, with her heart steady and her mind alert, would continue to move through the world with courage and care, ready for whatever the future might bring.